Hello, I'm Clovis Casali. Welcome to our show, The New Normal, bringing you a selection of reports from our correspondents around the world. This week, we'll be taking you to Thailand to meet the students standing up to the military junta, to Kenya and one of its beautiful elephant reserves. But first, the two countries battling over the disputed territory of Nagorno-Karabakh. In Azerbaijan, our reporters Ludovic de Foucault, Hussein Assad and Catherine Norris-Trent look at what is fueling this conflict, and it's not religion.
Midday prayers at one of the few dozen mosques in Baku, a city of 2 million people. Because of COVID, public prayers are closed across Azerbaijan. Only mosque workers and imams are coming to worship.
Din dövlətdən ayrıdır. Amma bizim dini etiqad azadlıq barəsində qanunlarımız var. Sovet hökuməti, Şura hökuməti zamanında onlar məscidlər bağlanıb, mədrəsələr bağlanıb, dini qadağalar olub. O zaman din alimləri ölkəni tərk edənlər olub, onlar həbs olunanlar olub, sürgünə göndərilib Rusiyaya.
In part, due to its Soviet heritage, while the majority of Azerbaijan's population is classed as Shiite Muslim, many here are no longer practicing. In fact, among the young, atheism is common.
I myself, I'm not Muslim. I don't consider myself as Muslim. There are a lot of non-religious people in Azerbaijan. I feel myself safe here, and I have never felt to be discriminated against.
In Azerbaijan, this analyst tells us the strong support for the Nagorno-Karabakh war is more about national pride and land.
The Azerbaijani people even don't think about religion when we talk about Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, because Karabakh is a national issue for our country. It is not a matter of religion.
Azeris we met strongly reject the notion that the fight for Nagorno-Karabakh is a religious one, accusing Armenia of framing the conflict in such terms.
Azerbaijan can count on the strong support of Turkey, and that means more difficulties for the Armenian community living in that country. There's an estimated 70,000 people there, notably in Istanbul. Take a look at this report by Shona Batasharia and Cécile Pierre Magnani.
Tatyos Bebek has been a dentist for the last 40 years. He's a member of Turkey's historic Armenian community. Bebek says he never hides his ethnicity, though he's faced discrimination in the past.
Korktuk çünkü bu ülkede ne yazık ki azınlıklar birinci sınıf vatandaş gibi görülmüyorlar. Bu bizi tedirgin ediyor. Yani benim için bu alıştığım bir şey oldu artık. Ama başkaları böyle değil. Çok korkan insanlar var. Dışarı çıkmayan insanlar var.
Ever since the late 19th century, Turkey's Armenian population says it's been the target of attacks. None of the 70,000 Armenians who remain has forgotten the events of the 1915 genocide that Ankara denies. In 2007, the murder of Hrant Dink, the co-founder of the Turkish-Armenian Agos newspaper, drew international condemnation. The conflict between neighboring Armenia and Azerbaijan has raised tensions once again.
Yani Türkiye medyasında ve Türkiye kamuoyunda hiç dengeli bir bakış açısı yok. Dengeli bir bakış açısı olmadığı gibi sadece Azerbaycan'ı savunan ve Ermenistan'ı sürekli düşmanlaştıran bir dil var. Bu rahatsızlık yaratıyor çünkü Ermeniler kendilerini spotların bir anda kendilerine döndüğünü hissediyorlar.
Several incidents have been recorded over the past few weeks. Just after fighting picked up again in Nagorno-Karabakh late September, a convoy of Azerbaijan supporters drove by the Armenian Patriarchate of Istanbul, the head of the Armenian Orthodox Church in Turkey. Since then, the streets leading to the Patriarchate have been sealed off, and police are standing by. But enhanced security measures aren't enough for Garo Paylan, one of 3 ethnic Armenian MPs.
Ya bizim bütün kurumlarımızın kapısına polisleri koysanız ne olacak? Cumhurbaşkanı Erdoğan nefret söylemleri kullanıyor Ermeni halkına karşı. O açıdan bizim güvende olabileceğimiz tek şey bu nefret siyasetlerinin son bulması ve barış siyasetinin devreye geçmesidir.
A call for peace that's been strongly criticized by rival political parties. They accuse Garo Paylan of being a traitor to the nation.
In Thailand, the military junta is facing mass demonstrations. The protesters are not politicians, but students calling for more democracy and a reform of the system. Some even dare to say that the monarchy needs to hear their demands, despite the harsh lèse-majesté law and the potential lengthy prison sentences. Our team in Bangkok met with one of these students who explained why she feels she needs to take to the streets even though her parents are extremely worried.
This university student joined the protests last February when she was still in high school.
Prior to that, all I could do was, tweeting and posting and at most debating with friends. But I want to really act out and be on the street. And that's why with the help of some other friends, we organized a protest. It was one of the best feelings I've ever had because, I felt like I finally could speak my voice.
One of the student activist groups dubbed themselves the Bad Students, and they're seeking to change Thailand's conservative educational culture.
Thai culture, I think, is based pretty much on seniority. Most schools are still very conservative with rules regarding our clothing to the level of underwear, the type we can wear, the type we cannot wear. The level of punishments in many schools are still very extreme.
Protesters are also seeking a host of changes to Thailand's political landscape, including calls for greater democracy. What makes these protests controversial is the willingness of protesters to challenge a long-standing taboo of publicly discussing the role of the monarchy.
I kind of hate to say that I'm quite neutral on it, because I think it's quite controversial, and I honestly don't really want any, beef with anybody.
Of course, there's fear. I think we all feel a bit afraid. But we have to do this. We have to come out and speak up because we don't have any other choice.
It is going to be a long fight, and I think it will only get bigger and bigger like it has been.
And with more protests planned and no sign of compromise, she may be right.
And finally, we take you to the stunning landscapes of Kenya, where authorities have created reserves to protect the endangered elephants. Kenya leading the way, while the number of elephants in East Africa has halved over the past decade. Our correspondents Maria Gerth Niculescu, Bastien Renouille and Elodie Cousin got the chance to follow a group of rangers in Kenya's Laikipia County.
At 6:30 a.m., the patrol begins in the Loisaba Reserve in central Kenya.
It's basically just flying around Loisaba, locating anything of interest, any populations, the densities, where they are.
Josh quickly locates an elephant.
Anything of interest, we usually throw on this phone, which is essentially a smart tracking app.
Once he's back on the ground, Josh and the rangers make their way towards the animals he located from the plane.
So basically, what I can see so far is there's about 13 to 15 ellies in here. You've got a couple very small ellies, under 6 months old. And then you've got quite a few adolescents, some of them pushing 2-3 years. And the adolescents are the ones you can see, slightly bigger ones in the distance there.
Patrols are conducted on a daily basis. Thanks to this surveillance method, since 2017, no animal was killed by poachers in Loisaba. But rangers have to stay vigilant.
We don't actually anticipate maybe poachers or anything, but in case they might be there, the bad men, then we are there for them.
The Kenyan population has tripled over the last 4 decades, encroaching on the territory of wild animals. Farmers particularly dread elephants and often react violently to the presence of pachyderms on their land. Only 3 years ago, the animals were coming here on a regular basis to eat maize from the field.
Elephants have become our friends. because they don't disturb us anymore. Before, we would sometimes kill them. We really saw them as enemies because they were destroying all our crops. But now that they're well kept in reserves, with fences, we enjoy seeing them.
Everywhere in Kenya, yields have to be protected, but elephants are now seen in a different light. Although they may cause damage to crops, their presence can also be beneficial to the population.
That's it for this week. I leave you with pictures straight out of Los Angeles with supporters on the street celebrating the triumph of the Lakers in the NBA championships. A special moment also as it comes after the death of Lakers and basketball legend Kobe Bryant. Thank you all for watching. See you soon.
Our correspondents have been travelling up and down the Ivory Coast to get a sense of the popular mood in the run-up to the presidential election on October 31st, whether that be the current sense of injustice and misunderstanding,
on a des problèmes, il n'y a pas goudron, il n'y a pas courant, tout ce qui peut avoir le développement, il y a besoin.
or the desire for economic expansion.
On ne peut que souhaiter vraiment que nos politiques nous donnent un climat de paix, quel qu'elle soit, mais vraiment un climat de paix.
In the north and south, what people are hoping for from this vote is long-term reconciliation.
Il faut que les politiciens changent leur langage pour qu'ils sachent qu'on est ensemble.
Travel the Ivory Coast in this edition of Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.